Hey, right guys, Truth Joe here, and today we're going to be doing another character tier list for Outer Banks Season 2. This is based on the characters in Season 2, not so much Season 1. And we have a good solid, I think it's like 15, I'm not sure exactly how many, but we have Pogies for life, absolute Pogies. The Greats, they're decent, they exist, and Kooks, am I right? Because, you know, no one's a bit a kook, or whatever they call them. I don't bloody know, they're just Pogies and Kooks, absolutely wild. So we have the characters here, and it was a good season. I said this will be up after the finale, and there'll be, you know, full spoilers for the characters and the journeys they go through in season 2. But I think it was a decent season. I won't say I loved it as much as I didn't really adore season 1, but I won't say I enjoyed it as much as season 1. But it had some good moments in there for sure, and I'll still come back for season 3. I'd like to say I don't think it's on the level of Elite season 4 or Riverdale or anything like that. It's still a good show. So yeah, the characters here, we have all the mains pretty much up to here. I'd say actually up to here. They're all pretty much main characters. So we'll start with the side characters. And keep in mind as well, this is like a mix of likability for me and how good the character actually is. So for some tier lists, obviously the villains could be quite high up, because I always use the example of Gus from Breaking Bad. Even though he's evil, he's still a great character to have in the show. And obviously Gus is a lot of people's favourite character from Breaking Bad just because he's so well written. So villains and bad characters can still be up there, but it is still to do with likability as well. Because for me, like Gus from Breaking Bad, he is still kind of likeable at times, to be fair. But yeah, we'll start with Heath Ledger. Well, I don't know what most of these characters' names are. Actually, I guess some. I don't know. I'll call them how I perceive them. We'll start with. And keep in mind as well, just as a side note, I haven't got every single character from Season 2 in here. I know I'm missing some, but I didn't want this to just be a full-on list. I just wanted to be this more of like the mains, really, and just kind of go through that. So Heath Ledger I'm going to put into They Exist. He had some good scenes like when he's chasing after him. I don't think he was an awful villain, and I like the scene, you know, when he came out and he got one of these guys to shoot the swing. He was good. The actor was decent. But he just kind of died. He just kind of got shot and didn't really do much in the end. It's like everything he did, Rafe could have really done. He was the second in command to Juliet, but I don't think he was that good of a villain. I wanted him to be. I felt like he could have been, but I don't think he really was. Like, he's trying to be one of those like henchman characters, and that's really kind of all he ended up being, was base level henchman with a few lines of dialogue. So a bit unfortunate that he died kind of soon, because I felt like they could have done more with him, but he existed. Then we have Kiara's mum drinking a glass of water. I don't know why I picked that image, but that's the first image that I came across of her, and I couldn't be asked to look at her face anymore because she's a kook. She's awful. I hate this whole storyline of her like, oh, Kiara, you got to get your life and fix your life, or we're going to send you off to this random ass camp. It's like, yeah, okay, that's really what you wanted to give Kiara for her main storyline, was that. So her mom whining and complaining the whole season because she doesn't know how to raise her daughter is something I just didn't care for at all. So don't like her. Yeah. Good luck for season 3, I guess, because we're going to have more of her story looking for Kiara and being on a deserted island, I guess. But then we had Wheezy from Toy Story 2. I love, by the way, that her sister just left her on the boat to be with this abusive-ass family. She's left her sister, who she likes, by the way. She doesn't hate her sister, but she's left her with Rafe, the dad who tried to kill her in the finale, and Rose, who's not quite as abusive, but still drugged her daughter, and still a little bit wild. So I just want to say that as a side point, but I don't think she really did anything. She didn't have as much as she did in season 1. I feel like her character was in season 1 more, so she exists. I'd say he was more interesting, so she exists. I don't think she's a terrible character, but she's not really that likeable to me, and as a character she didn't really do much. She caused a distraction once by having the suitcase, but even that didn't go to plan, because we'll talk about bad decisions characters make, don't worry. Then we have JJ's dad. I think the actor is actually very good. Whoever the actor is who plays JJ's dad is very good, but he's got to be down here. There's zero likability there for him, for me. And in terms of an actual character, he's just like the abusive dad. He's an abusive dad. I think the actor does, plays it well, but... And to be fair, I do think the dynamic's different, because sometimes he's like... I guess that's why abuse works anyway, but like... Some scenes is like loving JJ, and then obviously he's like hitting him in the face. I know that literally how abuse is, but yeah, he's gone. I feel like they shouldn't bring him back at all. I think their arc with those two is done. It's like one of those, that's that. As I said in the reaction, it's the happiest ending those two are possibly going to have, unless he comes back an absolute angel. But I don't think that's going to happen. So, terrible person, decent character, but not enough for me to put him further up than that. To be honest. Then we have Juliet. She seemed interesting when she first came into it. I felt like there was potential for her to be an extremely interesting villain, but she kind of wasn't. Kind of not as much as Heath Ledger, but she existed. I'll be honest, like I felt there was more with Ward and Rafe as the villains than she was. She tried to be, but she just kind of appeared at times and was trying to get the cross, and then got a bit mardy when she was given the fake keys. Like, she didn't really do much, to be fair. I felt like they could have done way more with her than they did. But no, she's just another one of those rich people who wanted a treasure. That's really all it was, which is a bit unfortunate. So I'm going to put her in She Exists. I don't think she was an awful character, but then we have, forgot her name, but the character who popped up for episode, I think it was episode 1, 2, and maybe 3. Then she disappeared and came back in the finale, obviously on the boat, and helped everyone out a few times, and was suddenly best friends with Sarah. I don't know where that came from, but she was like, oh, my best friend Sarah. Like, they loved each other. But I'll say she was decent. I don't think the acting was great from her, if I'm being honest. I felt like she was okay, but then there was some times where it was like, oh god. So I think, yeah, just one of those like over the top acting at times. I think that's what it was. But she was decent. She held them out of the pickle from time to time, but and I guess she's part of the crew now because she's on that deserted island with them. But yeah, as an actual character, I don't think we had a lot with who she actually is. It's just like she was there to help them out. I know we got a bit of backstory to her, but not that much to say she's one of the great characters of the show or anything for me. So I'll put her there. Then we have Rose. I'm going to put her in decent. I didn't even really notice her until like episode 6, I'd say, but I like, someone pointed out like on Patreon, how did you not know Rafe was alive? Not Rafe, sorry, Ward was alive, because she was going on the whole time like, we need to get to the ship, there's more important things going on than the gold, and we need to keep the family together. So she knew obviously that he was alive, and that was the plan, to dive underwater, which I can't believe I didn't pick up on that Ward was alive. It's so, usually I pick up on that shit, so that's just annoying. But yeah, I'm more just because I think I have a bit of a crush on Rose, I'm not going to lie, so that's probably why she's there, because technically she'd probably be there. But likability wise, 62% maybe. As a character, I'd say she's like a 45% decent character, so we'll put her in decent. She's a decent character, I think she's good. Then we have, I'd say, all these are like the mains of the show now. We'll start with Hopper. Topper Hopper. He did nothing for most of the season, and then he saved Sarah, and then he seemed a bit more likeable, but then he was still a bit of a dick because he was on about this whole Pogue thing still. So I'm going to put him in decent as well. He could have... No, he was never going to be great, I guess, because he just came in the show a bit too late, and he clearly had a crush on Sarah still, and he just bimbled around a little bit, but he was likeable in the scenes he was in. I like that he was there to save Sarah, and had the episode where obviously they went to the bonfire, but then he just disappeared again for the last 2 episodes. I know he wasn't really meant to be joining them on their journey, but he's just fine. I might even say he exists, to be honest. Yeah, I'll put him at the top of They Exist, because really, he saved Sarah and that was all he did this season. He had way more in season 1, but again, I'm not complaining that they didn't put him in season 2 more. I don't think he needed to be, so... Then we'll go with Ward. I think the actor is great. I think he's a good villain. I don't think he's, one of the best villains I've ever seen. I think Rafe's a better villain, actually. But I don't think he's a fantastic villain. I think he's gone full-blown evil now, because obviously he tried to kill Sarah in the finale, so he's gone full over. Because he was always kind of one of those where he was evil, but he was doing the things he was doing to protect Rafe. And I guess he tried to kill Sarah to protect Rafe in some way, but I don't know, even that felt a bit extreme for him to go and do that, so I'm going to put him in... Um, I'll put him in great. I think in terms of Outback, in terms of like TV villains, he'd be like there, like in all honesty. But for the characters of Outer Banks as the show that exists, he is a really great character. I think the actor is mainly the best part about it. I think he does a very good job with the character because as an actual character, I don't think he's that good. He's like the villain, and he shouts a lot, and he has lawyers, stuff like that. But as I said, I think Rafe's a way better character. I think he might be one of my favourite characters of the show. Likability wise, he is down here, don't get me wrong. I don't like Rafe, but I do. Because, again, the actor's so good. I think he's so complex, seems a bit of like a overuse of the word. I don't think he's a complex character, but I think there's more to him than they were originally going to go for. Like, there's something mad going on in his head. He clearly wants to always please his dad. The fact that he tried to kill his sister, I feel like, is more believable than when Ward tried to do it. Because he's just completely lost it. In fact, he's just going on rampages trying to kill people. Like when he knew Kiara was in the drain and he still turned the valve, like thinking to drown them all. It's like he's a really good character. But then there's more like he had the AK and he could have just mowed them all down, and he didn't. So there's still something human there with him because he would have just shot them all. Surely, like he would have no emotion about it. So there's still something there with him. I'm excited to see what they do with his character in season 3. But I think he's, in all honesty, I think he's the best actor of the entire cast. I think he does such a good job. Whoever the actor is who plays Rafe is the standout for me. I think, again, they're all decent. They range from like decent, good, and great, and I think he's one of the great ones. I'd say these two, and I'd say Sarah. Oh, Madeline. Sorry, Madeline's the other great actress of the show. Those three. So I really like Rafe. I don't, but I do. I'm sorry. He's such a good character. Without him, this season, I genuinely think would have been fairly bad. I know it wouldn't have worked without Rafe. Okay, but let's say Rafe was played by a bad actor and they didn't do as much with his character, but he still was kind of there. Then this season would not have been half as good. I think he was the main reason, and Ward and Sarah, why it was so good. So, right, we've got the main pogues, the main pogies. We'll start with, I think, we'll go with Pope. In season 1, he would have been there, not that far down, he'd been like up here kind of thing, but season 1, he was the weakest link of the entire Pogues. But, and I said in season 1, I hope they give more to his character in season 2, because he was just kind of there. In season 1, he didn't do much, but season 2, they thankfully gave a lot more to him. It did feel like we kind of lost a lot of JJ's own personal story for Pope, but I'm fine with that because it made him a more likable character. I still won't say he was fantastic or anything, but they gave a bit more to his, not just so much his backstory, but like his entire family's history, which was good, and his cross, being actually should be his, really is like rightfully his. And then this, what was his name? Starts with Denmark, I think Denmark. That whole story about Denmark's wife and how they were killed and how she knew about it. There was like the mystery side of things with this season was more so to do with him than John, because John, it was like about his dad and the maps and all that stuff, and I think that worked better in season 1. But season 2, they obviously went for Pope being that character. I still think he made some poor decisions, like when he got on the back of the van to follow Rafe, but then fought him and then was like, "Oh, Kiara can pick me up." It's like, what was the plan? Really? Like, we're going to beat him up a little bit. He should have just stayed on the van and saw where he was going, but he didn't. Then getting stung by bees and flying over, and then it's just like, some things he still did that kind of annoyed me. So I don't think he's a great character, but I think he's decent, so I'm going to put him at the top of decent. He did enough to improve. He's the one character who's improved a lot from season 1, but I still won't say I love him, if I'm being honest. I think he's a good character. He's decent. Then we'll go with Kiara. Actually, we'll go with JJ. I think because Kiara might have I've got a lot to say about Kiara. JJ, I'd say he was not as strong as he was in season 1 because he did have that kind of personal story with his dad. And they had one episode where they kind of brought that back, obviously, with his dad. And I felt like that was one of the best parts of the entire season, if I'm being completely honest. But I'd still say he's a really great character. I'm going to put him there. He was there in season 1, but I think actually, I'm still going to put him in Pogies for life, because even though he didn't have as much as he did in season one, I don't feel like he did anything this season to ruin his character. He just wasn't in it as much, I feel. Or maybe he was, but I don't feel like the content was as much as it was in season one. But there wasn't anything there that ruined his character because Kiara, she did stuff that ruined her character for me, but he didn't. He was still funny. The jokes, the actor still plays the role of being arm falling over all the time or what the fudge and all that shit. Have bands, but the actor does it well, and he I don't know, he's still just likable to me. He's an extremely likable character, and I think Rafe was a better character this season, but JJ has season one still on his back for me, and that's what's keeping him up there. Based on season two, he'd be there, but with season one still there. He's still a really great character for me. Then we'll go with Kiara. Season one, she was here. I don't think I did an Outer Banks season one tier list, but I think she was like very high up in my character rankings in season one. But season two, her personal story with her mum, I didn't give a fuck about. Like, I didn't care for that storyline. I don't think it needed to be there. I think if they were going to go for a personal story between her and her family, they could have done way better than the mum disapproves of who she's hanging around with. Oh my god, could you get any more cliche? There was so much more they could have done with Kiara's personal story, and they didn't. And then on top of that, this whole... I know people are saying she shouted murderer at Ward to ward him away from the gun so they could go and get the gun. But there was better ways to do that, for starters. And two, it didn't matter. Like, they had footage of him shooting someone, and she didn't warn Pope and JJ that she was going to do that. She just stood up and did it, and she didn't say that was the reason why she did it. The only reason she said she did it is because she doesn't care he's a murderer. If she explained, oh, I'm going to try to, get him away from the gun, and then cause a distraction maybe, instead of screaming at her, it's just like, oh my god. I know technically it was a distraction, but it was just so stupid, and I still kind of ship her and JJ. I didn't care and then her romance was with Pope, and her whole storyline was, oh, we should still be friends. So I'm going to put her in decent. She's a little bit better than Pope, because she still does have season one, but out of all of them, she was the one who annoyed me the most by far. Oh, and Pope as well, another thing. Why did he drop the cross in the water? That just annoyed me. We can't have it, no one can. Best line of dialogue I've ever heard in my life. Then we have... We'll go with John. I'm going to go do John first. John, again, was not as strong as he was in season one. I don't think his romance with Sarah, that was one of the highlights of season one for me. I don't think it was in this season. Their love story was this. It's like kind of fine. Then they fell out and broke up for a bit. Oh no, they got married, sorry. Worst marriage of all time, I'm going to say it now. But it was a proper pogey marriage, am I right? And then they fell out, and then they got back together after an underwhelming 2-episode arc of them not really talking. So that was... And then he went to prison. Yeah, I don't think he's a bad character. I still think he's good. But he went to prison. He was on the run for a bit, but he wasn't smart with it. In the first episode, I was just annoyed because they were running around the hotel. Oh, we should be careful. He was running around the hotel, exposing his face to literally everyone in sight. Even though there's wanted posters of him around. And he knows the police are after him, and he knows that they know where he is because they chase him off the boat. But those two are still dancing in the hotel. So I'm going to put him in decent, above Kiara and Pope. I think he's good. He's a decent character. He's just, in terms of a main character, I think there's way better characters than John. He just bimbles around and gets up to shenanigans, pogues. That's what he is. It's all about the pogue life. But in season one, he was there. Maybe season two, not as good. I'm gonna put him there. Then we have Sarah. I love Sarah. I think she did the one thing that she did that really frustrated me was, besides her dancing with John in the hotel, was trying to open up the truck while it was in the driveway, even though she had the keys and could have just driven it away and then checked in the back of it. But she didn't. She knew that it was a time-sensitive issue because Wheezy was distracting Rafe, but he was only going to be distracted for so long and then go and see that the keys were stolen and then come out and find her. She knew that, but she still thought, I'm going to look at the back of the van and then stare at this corpse for 5 minutes. So that was the one thing that annoyed me, but I still think she's one of the highlights, and the actress was still one of the best of the entire show. So I'm going to put her just below JJ, I think. No, I'm going to put her above JJ because I don't know. I think the actress is really good, and like when, for example, when Ward died, I think the actress did a really good job with that scene, and she's still likable for me. I don't think that ruined her character. None of the things they did, to be fair, ruined their characters. It's not like I'm never going to like Kiara because she screamed murder. It was little things I'm like, these characters are so stupid. They can get very frustrating, but I still really like Sarah. That's mad. Rafe's my favourite character. Yeah, I'd say Rafe was the best character of this entire season. I think it was so good. So good. Sarah was really good, and JJ was still, even though it wasn't a strong season one, I still think he's a really great character. So they're my top three. Ward was good. Then these lot were decent. I think she was fine. She, mainly because I have a crush on her. Then these three. He's better than he was in season one. She's worse than she was in season one. He's worse than he was in season one. They were just fine. I don't feel like they did much of significance, to be honest. He was close to being decent. I just don't think he had enough. She tried to be a really menacing villain, and these two just ended up being the most basic villains I've seen in my life. Not quite, but again, they weren't bad villains. They just existed. And then while he was a good actor, he was so unlikable that I have to put him there. Weezy did fuck all, and she was just annoying because she didn't know how to raise a daughter. So, yeah, not. I want Kiara to go back to here because I really want to like Kiara. John's got to get up there for season 3, surely, but we'll see. She's going to be in season 3, I'm sure, so hopefully she gets more. And Rose, fingers crossed for more Rose. He's dead, so he's not going to do anything. I feel like he just needs to stay gone. I don't care about her at all. She could get better, to be fair. I feel like Juliet's character could get better. It's just as it stands. I just don't feel like there was enough there for me to really love her. And Topper, I feel like, can go up. We need more of his character. So, yeah, there we go, guys. That is my character tier list for Outer Banks Season 2. Again, I feel like I need to reiterate because I'm kind of worried with these reactions going up on YouTube, but I did not hate the season. I think it was good. It was a good season, just not quite great. I wouldn't even say it was good. I'd say it was decent. I'd say it was a decent season. It wasn't quite a pokey season. It wasn't a kook season, but it was a decent season. So, yeah, there we go. If we could put the season in a tier list, it'd be here. And season 1 would be there. Thanks for watching, guys. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts of the season 2 and your top 3 characters down below in the comments. And I'll see you next time for season 3, episode 1. I have no doubt that this show's going to get renewed, but we know how that goes when I say that shit, so I'm not going to say anything. And I'm going to start doing character tier lists every week, so make sure you're subscribed if you enjoy these. And yeah, take care. Enjoy your day or evening. I've got the rest of the day now. I just slapped together 2 tier lists, so I might do another tier list and then call it a day. So yeah, until next time, guys, take care. Peace.